Hello, secret anime fan here. Today I've got a video on my boy Beppo. I love Beppo, I love his personality and appearance, everything. This video will be a story and overview of all things Beppo, so let's get started. Beppo, as you can see on screen, is a white bear with humanoid features, or anthropomorphic if you want to put it that way. He's also could be seen as a polar bear. He's of the mink race in the One Piece world, more on them in a minute. He's part of the Heart Pirates. He's more uniquely dressed than his other crew members, apart from, say, Leader Law, wearing an orange jumpsuit as opposed to the white ones. He's taller than most humans, having the size of a bear standing up, so he's about 7 feet and 11 inches, and is currently aged 22. He also has one of the lowest known bounties in One Piece after Chopper. His bounty is 500. This is likely a joke by Oda, as the world government thinking that both Chopper and Beppo are just pets in their pirate crews and it doesn't reflect his actual power. Also, it's 10 times more than Chopper's bounty, likely another joke by Oda. So Chopper's is 50, Beppo's 500. I know that was kind of stupid to say out loud because you can probably do basic math, but yeah, let's move on. Now let's talk about Beppo's personality. There's not much displayed, but what we do see I find so funny and great. Beppo has a sensitive personality, often getting depressed when people shoot him down for whatever reason, when like Boa Hancock called him a beast and scolded him. Now of course, depression normally in the real world isn't funny, but in terms of the anime and the times it's used here, it's done in a funny nature and a funny way. He also gets depressed when people point out he is a bear and a talking one at that, or when he says something stupid. He often gets depressed and often apologizes to the person who made him depressed. He often gets called weak-willed by his fellow crew members, which is quite funny because he's actually quite strong-willed, as he's able to withstand Rayleigh's Conqueror's Haki. Just to briefly explain Conqueror's Haki to people who may not know about One Piece. You can think of Conqueror's Haki as an ability that knocks people out who are weak-willed or have a weaker will than the person using it. It's quite a bad explanation, but I suppose you can just go look on the internet what it is. You might get spoilers if you look it up, but just watch One Piece and you'll come to find what Conqueror's Haki is all about. Beppo comes across as meek to many people. It's only when he is fighting where the meekness disappears, often to return soon after. He definitely has an unintentional funny personality, unintentional by Beppo the character, not Oda the manga author, if that makes sense, saying things that are funny to the viewer but normal to Beppo. I will tell you some of the examples, like when Gene Bart joins the Heart Pirates, he's quite humorously tries to order the new recruit around, relishing in having a senior rank, and of course Oda used this for comedy because Gene Bart doesn't really listen to Beppo. Thus I wouldn't take it seriously that Beppo, wouldn't take it part of Beppo's personality, so I wouldn't really take it seriously. It's more of a joke, and I wouldn't put it down as a negative part of his personality, but you can make your own mind up on that if you want to. The other time is when he's overheating and complains about overheating, and he takes the opportunity to fool around and be funny when he hugs his human crew members so they feel overheated too. He also does foolish things like eating toxic fish from a river, for example. This unintentional, funny, foolish personality adds to his lovable personality and makes him a fan favourite for many. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the background of Beppo and his story and appearances over the One Piece story. Now, there may be spoilers, but I'll try and keep them to a minimum, so you should be able to continue this video, but that's entirely up to you, of course. Beppo was born in Zou, but at the age of 8 he got swept away by the sea when he was trying to chase his brother, who was most likely departing Zou. While trying to get a better view, he got swept away. He managed to get on a ship that was heading towards North Blue. North Blue is before the Grand Line. Just to explain it, there's 4 seas: East, North, South and West Blue, and then the next level is the Grand Line, and then beyond that is the New World. Anyway, Beppo ended up on an island called Swallow Island approximately a year after arriving in the North Blue, or maybe a year after leaving Zou. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, it's on this island that Beppo met both Law, Sachi and Penguin. Sachi and Penguin were both bullying Beppo, but a young 13-year-old Law smacked some sense into both Sachi and Penguin, saving a young Beppo. Later on, all 3 of them would end up becoming Heart Pirate crew members, just for an extra bit of info. At this time, Beppo was 9, Sachi was 14, and Penguin was 15, so they have known each other for about 13 years now, so that's quite a long relationship that they've had, which is quite nice to know. Beppo would go on to study seafaring and navigation in hopes of returning to his homeland of Zou. and this is how he became navigator of the Heart Pirates. Now there's more backstory to this Beppo Law Sachi Penguin story, but it is non-canon, but it is an interesting story. So the story goes that after Law saved Beppo, he went back to a man's house whose name was called Wolf, whom Law had recently met. A month goes by, Beppo and Law find and cross paths with Sachi and Penguin, who had been severely injured by a boar. They bring them back to Wolf's house, where the three treat the two back to good health. Law uses devil fruit powers to reattach Penguin's arm, which had been severed off. Law has the Oppi Oppi no Mi fruit for those who want to look into that. It will give you an idea of what the devil fruit's about and the power it has. It might provide spoilers though, so you have been warned. But the general idea is he's able to cut things in half and kind of reattaching. But go look it up, it'll give you an idea of how he's able to reattach the arm. I just horribly explained what it was, it's so much more than that. We are first officially introduced to Beppo and the Heart Pirates in episode 392 and 498 of the manga during the Sabaody Archipelago arc, which by the way is one of my favourite arcs in One Piece. After we are introduced to Beppo, the Heart Pirates and the rest of the supernovas, there are 11 supernovas and they have bounties over 100 million. I'm not going to go too into them, but they're very hype in the One Piece. Although, actually no, I won't go to spoilers. We see him in the auction house where we see him and the Heart Pirates bail out after the incident with the Celestial Dragons, which by the way must be my top 5 moments in One Piece. It's definitely up there. And the Celestial Dragons are basically the elite of the elite. They're the royal families of the world and they're very snobby, pretentious and elitist. But again, I don't want to go too much into that because I want people to experience the One Piece story in full. That's why I try and keep spoilers to a minimum on any video that I make. So we see Beppo and the Heart Pirates and we see them battle against the Marines as they plan to escape Sabaody. They later bump into the Kid Pirates where they reluctantly team up to fight a Pacifista. Pacifistas are the new... they're pretty strong for the time. They're basically cyborgs, but I'll keep it at that. There might be like, machine cyborgs, androids kind of thing. Well, I say they try to team up, but it's more like they both attack at the same time and complain when each other gets in their way, but I suppose it kind of done the job. We next see Beppo join Marineford arc watching the war being broadcast. Now I'm going to skip over the rest of this arc just in case people haven't watched the arc yet and to save time. We see them soon after when they bump into one of the 7 warlords called Boa Hancock. And I might as well explain the 7 warlords quick. The 7 warlords are 7 strong pirates in the first part of the Grand Line, and should I reveal more into it? You can look them up. I'm going to leave it at that. And sorry for wasting your time. So let's continue. They would travel to Amazon Lily, an island ruled by Boa Hancock, an island full of women. Beppo is seen asking if there are any female bears on the island, but to get shot down for asking such a stupid question. Beppo and the Heart Pirates soon leave Amazon Lily, disappointed that they didn't get a full chance to enter the island, which is only open for women. We see him briefly again as the Heart Pirates plan their journey into the New World, which is basically the second part of the world / Grand Line and is seen as a big step up in craziness. Now I'm going to mention Beppo's story and appearance in the New World, so if you haven't watched past about episode 751 or chapter 802, which is the Zoe arc, then feel free to stop the video now as there may be spoilers, but I will try and keep them to a minimum. We next hear mention of Beppo when Law mentions Beppo and the rest of his crew were on an island called Zoe. When we come to learn Beppo and the rest helped defend Zoe from pretty big shot invaders in which Beppo took injuries. We first officially see Beppo during the Zoe arc where Law, Beppo and the rest of the Heart Pirates have a heartfelt reunion because Law went off and done his own thing for a while, leaving the Heart Pirates to do their own thing. Now I'm going to talk about Wano country, which as of the creation of this video is where the mangaka is currently at. We come to learn that Beppo and the rest of the Heart Pirates have infiltrated Wano Kingdom. We've seen him here and there during the arc so far, but I'll leave it at that. I know I keep saying I'm leaving it at that and this, but I do want to tell his story, but keep spoilers to a minimum. Now, before I move on, I was wondering if you, the viewer, like this segment where I mention every appearance of the character, or do you find it's boring? I find it suits some characters better to do so, but others not as much. For you know what I mean. I'm trying to find a sweet spot where I can add to the story of the character I'm talking about, but keep spoilers to the minimum, as well as keeping things interesting. Let me know in the comment section. Okay, I am now going to move on to the abilities and power Beppo has displayed, and I'm going to delve into the Mink tribe. Beppo, whom is a Mink, almost certainly uses the Electro ability that all other Minks have, from my understanding, and interestingly enough is a defining feature of the Minks, which can most likely help determine who is a mink or who is a person who has eaten a Zoan devil fruit, which are a selection of the devil fruits, which are like the main powers in One Piece. And the Zoan devil fruits are fruits which often allow the user to transform into some kind of animal, beast, you name it, you can transform into it. Electro, as you may have guessed, lets the user have the ability to shock their opponents through body parts of their body through the use of electricity. It can also be used to channel electric through weapons and gives the user an extra edge in battle, causing burns and paralysis. We could also assume he has a Sulong form, which is basically a mink's secret weapon. Through looking at a full moon, a mink undergoes a transformation which alters their appearance and provides a boost to their speed and strength. Now I must say he may be able to transform into the Sulong form, but he might not be able to control it, as he left Zou at age 8 and the Sulong form takes training on Zou to master the form. Lack of training could result in them going into an uncontrollable rampage, damaging everything around him indiscriminately. Now he may have mastered it before age 8 or somehow managed to control it through other means. I would be highly surprised for this power up to be introduced, but Beppo doesn't have it mastered, but who knows. Minks, and therefore Beppo, are born warriors. They really are sounding like the Saiyans, aren't they? Maybe this is Oda giving you respect to Toriyama in some kind of way. Anyway, being a mink, Beppo is both strong and more agile than your average human, and being part of one of the big pirate crews, he's not your average character. He's a skilled martial artist, able to proficiently deal damage in fighting, able to fodderize marines, and combined with his innate strength as a mink, displays impressive fighting abilities. After the time skip, we get a power buff. He's able to fend off invaders on Zou for up to 12 hours. Of course, he wasn't doing this on his own, but these invaders were no small fries either. If you compare that to pre-time skip, when you couldn't even take on a pacifista, then this is quite a big leap in strength. By the way, I think there was like a 2-year time skip between the Grand Line, the first part of the Grand Line, and the New World. As a role of a navigator in his pirate crew, Beppo must be skilled at navigating the turbulent seas that is known as the Grand Line. He's also shown skills in cartography, and that's about it for Beppo's power and abilities. And that's it for the story of Beppo, but before I finish, I think I'll do a bonus segment on his brother Zepo, so feel free to stick around. Now, I must quickly state Zeppo's story also contains spoilerish stuff for the New World, so you have been warned. So Zeppo, like his brother, is a white bear, or most likely a polar bear, and wields a cutlass sword. He's the older brother of the two, and he was a member of the Nox Pirates, a pirate group full of minks. They set sail in search of poneglyphs, which are basically massive blocks with informative but encryptive information on them. They are very important in the One Piece world, and they show and display information about the world. But they need someone to translate it. I can't really go into more of that. But basically, they're big blocks that can't be moved or destroyed, and they show and display information about the One Piece and the history of the One Piece world. And they're much sought after by every pirate and the world government. Zepo and the Nox Pirates left 13 years before the start of the series, but long story short, their crew eventually shrunk due to injury and discouragement, and everyone left except Zepo and Pedro. 10 years after the Nox Pirates set sail, Zepo and Pedro travelled into the land of one of the Yonkos. The Yonkos are the 4 big pirates of the New World, to steal a rub of the Yonkos poneglyph, but Zepo and Pedro were defeated and captured. Zepo, spoiler incoming, but I gotta say it, ends up dying after a punishment which was set by one of the Yonkos for the use of a devil fruit, taking the remainder of his life force. Their punishment was to have 100 years of their lifespan taken between Zepo and Pedro, but as Zepo only had 30 years left of his lifespan he died, but Pedro survived but had 70 years taken away from him. Now, I was trying to explain that story whilst not completely spoiling it, but if you want to know more, go look it up, and I guess you'll get the full experience from that story. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe, and see ya.